If you're starting nursing school in the fall, let me know if you've started having nursing school nightmares already. 2 nights in a row. My first bad dream, I had to take my own blood pressure and I just didn't have enough hands to hold the bulb, the stethoscope, and pump it, and I was gonna fail. The next night, I told everyone that my patient was dead, and a few hours later remembered that I forgot to check for a pulse to confirm. And it turned out they were alive! My name is Sierra, and today I am going to talk about my favorite flashcard app. Stay tuned to the end because I'm going to share tips and tricks for making the best flashcards so that you can do well on your exams. If you're new here, please like and subscribe. If you make these, you have to walk around with a giant stack of flashcards. Having a flashcard app on every device that you carry around makes it easy enough to say goodbye to those. That was dramatic. As a mom and a non-traditional student, it is so handy to have flashcards accessible on my phone. Regular, old-fashioned flashcards may have their benefit. I think you can do just fine with a flashcard app. Let's jump right in and talk about my favorite flashcard app, which is Brainscape. It's like landscaping your brain with knowledge. Anyway, I've tried the other apps. I've tried Quizlet. Who hasn't tried Quizlet? I've tried Anki. Anki is complicated. 2 semesters ago, I discovered Brainscape and I've been using it ever since. It has easily become my favorite flashcard app. It's super user-friendly, not complicated like Anki. It looks prettier than Quizlet. I don't have to change any settings for the spaced repetition like I might if I were using Anki. Brainscape does offer a pro version. I have only used the free version. The pro version will allow you to shuffle your deck, study in reverse, and reset confidences. When you choose to study a deck, you're going to click on each card and you're going to see a series of colors. You're going to choose from these colors how well you know the card. So you can choose purple for not at all and 5 for perfectly, and then these colors in between. And you're going to do this for every card. Okay? Then when you get to the end, you'll see how well you know your deck of cards, and you can often judge that based on the colors that you see. Ideally, you would aim to have mostly blue and green for your deck before you're ready to take your exam. The other thing the pro version allows is adding sound and images to your flashcards. If you are taking your lab for anatomy and physiology and you're trying to remember all those muscles and bones, adding images to your flashcards could be very helpful, but in a future video, I'll show you how I made my flashcards for lab in anatomy and physiology. We all know it's really easy to make the flashcards, but studying them is what becomes tedious. If you can, trick your brain into thinking you're playing a game while you're running through the flashcards. Maybe your brain will stop thinking about pizza and Netflix and sleeping. So it's really important when you use a flashcard app like Brainscape or Anki that you do not cram. Do not cram. No cramming. Otherwise, you're gonna try to run through 150 flashcards a few days before your exam, and that doesn't work out well for anybody. I know my brain sort of freaks out if I don't give it plenty of time to feel like it can grasp the material and remember it. I always try to leave at least 5 to 7 days before an exam to start going over my flashcards. Like other flashcard apps, you're going to create your classes. You can tap on a deck, you can choose study, edit, and browse if you do not have the pro version. When you choose edit, you can look through all of the cards that you've made in this deck, and you could certainly click on a card and then edit it however you like. And then you'll save and return to your cards. So for example, if you're studying for the respiratory exam, you can choose study. It automatically picks 15 cards for you to study in a session, but you can just move this dial and you can change how many cards you want to study. So we'll just choose 5 so I can show you an example and start studying. So you're going to tap each card. Like I said earlier, you're going to just choose your confidence for each card, and you'll go through all of these. And then at the end, it's going to tell you your mastery for that deck of cards. And you'll see that there are different colors down below based on the confidences that you chose throughout that study session. A great thing about this app is that it uses spaced repetition. So you're going to see cards that you don't know as well. You will see those with greater frequency. So if I would choose not at all for some of these cards, then I'm going to start to see those cards more often. Okay, so now that you've seen what the app looks like, let's go ahead and talk about some tips for making better flashcards. When I write my flashcards, I like to write them as questions because I want to get in the mindset that I'm taking a test. That way, when the test is in front of me, my brain doesn't freak out, I don't get really anxious because I've already looked at a series of questions, and yes, I've made them, but it does help calm me down so that I have less test anxiety. A key to doing this, if you do have a recorded lecture, is pulling out keywords or phrasing that your professor uses in the lecture. So you can almost anticipate how they're going to write their questions on the test by the phrasing that they use in the lecture. I'll show you an example of this. This screen shows a few examples of how I write my flashcards as questions, or fill in the blank. My professor might say something like, the secondary lymphoid tissues and organs include the tonsils, malt, lymph nodes, and spleen. I just turn that into a question. I also like to include a lot of information in some of my flashcards so that I'm not necessarily quizzing myself on the information, but I am reading it over and over again as I go through my flashcards. You can see that example in what type of lymphatic capillary transports lipids absorbed by the digestive tract. This is just a really good example of how I write my flashcards as either questions or fill in the blank. My brain has a really hard time when it sees lymph on one side of a card, for example, and then my brain is going through, okay, well, what should I know about lymph? What's going to be on the other side of that flashcard? And it just becomes overwhelmed. Like I said, I have memory problems. So I really need lots of repetition, and I need these little tricks, and this is just the approach that I've found has worked for me. Let me know how things are going for you as you prepare for nursing school if you start in the fall, and I'll see you soon for my next video.